Hi again, YouTube. This is another continuation regarding the Luzia skull that was found in south central Brazil. Okay, I have three other videos regarding the skull and how it pertains to blacks of the Americas. As you know, with my third video, I talked a little bit about Christopher Columbus and how he relates with this, what connections between Columbus and the Lucia skull. As you know, that the Lucia skull is over 11,000 years old, and that when Columbus came to uh, the Americas, I think at this time it's in Central America or still in the Caribbean, that he was told by the Indians, the people that were here in the Americas before Columbus, that they were a darker skinned people here. And I'm thinking that maybe um, Christopher Columbus was thinking that maybe the Moors reached here before he did, and if that was the case, he couldn't make claim, uh, you know, for Spain and him get his 10% of the cut of any wealth that is extracted from the Americas. So I suggested that maybe that was his reason to vilify blacks or Moors from having claim and to bring in new arrivals from West Africa, and that their status would be slave. And as you know, slavery, you don't have any rights, you don't have property rights, etc. So Christopher Columbus made sure he wanted to get his 10%. He wanted his cut. So what I was thinking about now regarding, extending further with the idea about Christopher Columbus and as it pertains to Black people today, uh, as you know, Christopher Columbus, he is what they call a marine, I think called a Marino. That means a Jewish person who is who converted to, in particular, Catholicism. That their conversion was for their protection, because with the Inquisition that happened in 1492, the same year that Columbus leaves Spain to the Americas, that they can kill you if you don't convert. That they can kill you. So um, so Christopher Columbus, um, he was very keen on establishing him and his descendants, according to this one biography documentary that I saw over the internet, video documentary, and I thought it was very interesting that when he said that he wants 10% of all the wealth and his descendants to also reap the benefits and to have political positions, I guess like leadership positions. And when I think of the term New World, they never call like a place like Australia the New World. And that place is even more remote from Europeans. But it this was the only place that I've ever heard the term New World. And it reminds me of when you heard George Bush Sr. say in a meeting about the New World Order. So I'm thinking it's a continuation with Christopher Columbus. He They claim that he discovered the New World, even though there were clearly civilizations that were here before him. So it went beyond just having people there. It didn't matter. It's a concept. And this concept, um, I think, has to do with the fact that there were people of African ancestry already here. So what do you do? How do you get your 10%? if you're not the first one here. So you introduce slavery so that everyone would think that your descendants were brought over from West Africa, not that there were black people already here. And so your status as black is automatically classified as slave, and you don't get any rights. You cannot own property, you can't own land, anything. So he changed the status of the true indigenous people of the Americas, and that's the black. And those groups in the Americas, I find that like even the indigenous people, what we call the Native American Indians, that you notice those nations that resisted European expansion, that they too vilified. They like there's a group of Indians called the Pima, Pima, the Pima Indians. They're near the border of Mexico, I believe. And this is the only Indian group in the Americas that has such a strong resemblance to the health conditions of many African Americans that we know of today. They have the highest rates of diabetes and obesity and everything associated with this. I mean, I think they said over 80% of the people there have diabetes. And with diabetes, that it ultimately, like if you live long enough, ultimately it will affect your kidneys. And many of these people on kidney dialysis. And with kidney dialysis, you can't go on it forever. The maximum longevity of someone who's on active dialysis is 5 years. You don't past 5 years. Your kidneys don't work, and then dialysis. I witnessed with dialysis that it starts to affect your mind. You start to go crazy when you have a treatment, a dialysis treatment. I guess all the toxins in the body has to go through the brain too, and you just start to go mad. And that's what happened to my father. He had diabetes, and he died from its complications. But getting back to the Pima Indians. Now, the Pima Indians have relatives that are living in the Mexican side of the border, and they don't have any of these health problems. So they're genetically very close. They're just one was on this side of the border, the other on the other side of the border. One on the American side, one on the Mexican side. But yet, it's a disparity between the health between these two brothers, blood brothers, so to speak. And why is that? So the same thing with African Americans, that if you exclude the Pima Indians, the demographics in the Americas, who has the worst health in America? The black. And blacks are fighting for itself to stand on its own, and we're being persecuted. So like the Pima Indians and the African Americans, we're both very similar in our outcome when we resist white authority. And so I thought that was very telling. Okay, so again, when we resist, we all of a sudden get all these health conditions and dying. And then again, you have the connection of Christopher Columbus having a quest to start a new world for him, and that would promise his descendants prosperity and power, economic power. So I also started noticing parallels between Christopher Columbus with Abraham of the Bible in Genesis. One thing we know with Abraham, his starting point was in the land of Ur of the Chaldees. And this is in modern day Iraq. Okay? And he, Abraham, and his own father and relatives were already on the way to the land of Canaan. We know this land, Canaan, as Israel or even Palestine. Now, so there was already a trek over to this mysterious land. But the father, as you know, the father of Abraham passes away, and Abraham continued on his journey, and on this journey with his father now deceased, he now says that God spoke to him and made a promise, a covenant promise to him that the land would be his and his descendants, and that anyone who harms you or his descendants, is going to be cursed. So how is this related to the Americans and blacks? So what's the connection? Well, in the land of Canaan, there were, who were the people? The Canaanites. And who were the Canaanites? Well, according to Genesis in the Bible, Genesis of Canaan is the son of Ham. And Ham, according to the scriptures, had done, as it says, saw his father's nakedness. And it's suggested by some that the interpretation of that, if you look up the expression, so the nakedness of a particular person, in all the context that term is mentioned in the Bible, always had a sexual component to it. And I can't remember one specific verse, but it suggested that Ham might have actually had relationships with Noah's wife. I think I might have mentioned earlier, I said Abraham's wife. I meant to say Noah, that Noah had a wife, and that Ham might have went and had sex with her, and that the offspring of that child was Canaan. Because one thing the scriptures does not specify, it does specify that Noah was the father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and that he had a wife. But he might have had more than one wife, and we don't know specifically whether those three sons were of the same mom. But we do know that a child was born. And it seems like there might have maybe been a race to see who can have. It seems like anyone who had the first child after the flood was going to be prominent, like there's something magical, something so spiritually strong connected to it. But Ham was the youngest of the three sons. He wanted the power. And he had a son that he named Canaan. And this Canaan just so happened to start a kingdom in what we know as Israel today. And that it was so prosperous. And that it made mention that the people were giants, and that the size of the grapes was so heavy that two people had to carry one cluster of grapes. Canaan, and it is known that Canaan and his descendants are the father of what they call the black race today. Okay? So he's already here, he's already there in the promised land. But his wealth is going to be taken away. And it was going to be taken away through the descendants of Abraham. According to Abraham, he said that his descendants is chosen by God and is for whatever reason, to take away this land from the original inhabitants post-flood. Okay, and then down the road, some several hundred years later, that the descendants of Abraham do go back to Canaan, and they overcome the indigenous populations. That's the Canaanites and all the descendants and all the different branches of the family of Ham. And it is known that Ham is the father of the black race, you know. But again, I don't know how one son could be one race and the other two sons to be some other race. They're all black, but somehow down the road, he had a new introduction, a new people post-flood. And this could be what the scriptures in Genesis also make mention of, that you had beings from another place, what they call fallen angels, and that they introduced their seed to the indigenous population. And as we know, the indigenous population are black race people. So getting back to with Christopher Columbus and Abraham, Christopher Columbus said that he felt that God had him on a mission for this new world and for his descendants, which is the same as with Abraham, that him and his descendants were going to be masters of what we know as Israel today. And the U.S. has very strong ties to Israel, and that if you attack Israel, you're also attacking the U.S. and vice versa. That's what it seems like, the political climate with the North America, the U.S. in particular. So these connections, both connections, the connections of the North America, Central and South, is a black connection. And we got usurped by a foreign group and descendants of Abraham that had taken control over much part of the Americas and its descendants. The same as in Israel today. You have an indigenous people who are disenfranchised, who are made fun of, and again, these were black-faced people. And Israel has a strong hatred to black people. And I didn't understand why, you know. But this is why that blacks are the indigenous people of this world, and you have a foreign entity, and they're using the excuse that God told them so, or that they have a strong impression that God is leading them to do this. So know that if you were here first on this planet, God blessed you with this planet. God blessed you with wealth and prosperity. But it is being usurped by a foreign entity. So when you walk this world, no matter where you walk, know that it is yours, that you are first, and that don't let anyone push you around. You are the indigenous man, and you're a man with history, knowledge, and science. Everything else that these new science, they took from you, and then they steal what knowledge you have from you, and then they claim it on for themselves and make you feel like that you're not contributing. You are a contributor. This land is your land. So I'm just saying for you all, black people and you too, that love yourself, love your children, love your spouses. Every day, pray together as a family, and get grounded and know and be comforted that this is your land and you're not foreign, and that God loves you, and that you are the first, and you are to reap splendid one day. So take care, you two, and let me know what you think. Bye bye.